The Project Zomboid modding scene continues to offer the community a wealth of playtime, with a vast array of all kinds of mods from the smallest quality of life improvements to full-blown overhauls of the traditional Zomboid experience. In this video, we'll be taking a look at a range of popular mods that are making a name for themselves within the last month or two and giving you some new things to try. If you enjoy the video, be sure to like and subscribe, and you'll find a link to a collection of all the mods shown in this video down in the description. Now, I wanted to kick this video off with a mod that has been an absolute game changer for anyone that likes to run more than one modded map in a single playthrough, and it's fair to say that's probably going to be a lot of you. This is the Map Mod Manager, created by the same individual behind the 120 plus map mod collection I featured in a previous video. The idea of this mod is to allow players to easily identify which parts of the vanilla map will be occupied by the modded maps you want to use, and then present them on a grid, allowing you a clear visual of which maps might collide before you start your game. Nobody likes finding out that their playthrough is ruined when you've already committed hours of playtime, and this mod makes instances like those a thing of the past. I really can't recommend this one enough. It is simple, easy, and solves a genuine problem that lots of players have encountered over the years. Anyway, on to the next one. Now, those of you that have been following the development of Build 42, or perhaps even watch my video summaries of the monthly Thursdays, may remember that the developers intend to add some behavior to zombies that causes them to pile up against fences and eventually break through them. Well, if that sounds like something you'd enjoy, you may not have to wait until future updates for this feature after all. The modder behind Angry Zombies Break Fences has taken a stab at this feature themselves, which not only creates some more realistic pathing behaviors for zombies, but also removes the controversial crate fence exploit. Now, I understand because of that, this mod might not be for everyone, but at the end of the day, if you're looking for something a little bit more realistic, then this is it. So we've taken a look at an improvement to zombie behavior, but how about we change the zombies entirely with this next one? And this mod does just that in a very big way. This is the mod Zombies of Dimension, which adds a whole range of highly customizable special infected types to Project Zomboid. Now, I can't understate the amount of work that must have gone into this mod. I've seen some workshop editions before that add one or two different types of zombies to the mix, but this mod brings in over 15 different types, each with their own special abilities, animations, effects, and models. For example, there is a summoner zombie that absorbs nearby corpses and uses them to spawn in fresh zombies. There's also zombies that call others to your location, narrow your radius of vision, or even attack you with wide-ranging abilities like explosions or ground effects of varying types. The mod comes with a host of sandbox options that allow you to change things like health, speed, spawn rates, and other features for every single type of zombie that the mod adds. I should also include a disclaimer here: this mod will not be for everyone. Some of the zombies are incredibly difficult to fight, and at times it'll feel downright unfair, but it's a great showing of how special infected could work within the Zomboid world, and this can make for a great addition to runs where you're going more for the guns blazing, equipment heavy approach instead of starting fresh in a zombie apocalypse. Let's take a look at a couple of quality of life features next, those little things that make all the difference. Now, let's say you're cooking up a nice healthy meal after a loot run to the local Gigamart while you settle down for an episode of your favorite show. Cozy, right? But you lose track of time, forget to check on your roasted rat, and the next thing you know, your safe house has gone up in flames and your progress is lost in the blink of an eye. Allow me to introduce Auto Oven Disable, a mod that will quite literally save your bacon if you tend to be the forgetful type. The mod will automatically switch off the oven as soon as the food inside is done cooking, meaning no burnt food, and more importantly, no crispy survivors either. Something like this isn't going to massively change the way you play Project Zomboid, but it could save you some very unnecessary heartbreak. Okay, so have you ever noticed how most of the shirts in Project Zomboid tuck into the character's pants? I'm going to apologize because now you won't unsee that. Now, I hadn't really even thought about this until I saw the mod I'm about to bring to you, but now I can't unsee it, and it makes me irrationally angry that I can't just untuck my character's shirt. Anyway, that's exactly what this mod does. Untucked shirts quite simply allows you to wear the shirts in Zomboid a slightly different way, creating additional fashion options for players that didn't quite have the time to get themselves smartened up for the zombie outbreak in Kentucky. Now, you might have noticed that there are some weapons in the vanilla version of Project Zomboid that can't be repaired, which can be incredibly frustrating when you found some big ticket items and are excited to use them in combat. Let's take the katana, for example, debatably the best weapon available in Zomboid, and it can't be repaired at all in the vanilla version of the game. With the mod More Repair Recipes, however, you'll be able to repair items like katanas, nightsticks, and crowbars with new recipes the mod brings to the table. There's a bunch more included in the mod itself, some for weapons and others for tools, but all of them are incredibly useful and should probably be included in the game as standard. Next, we're taking a look at the mod known as Context Menu Icon Mania, which is an additional add-on for a mod we've looked at in a previous video called Muti's Context Menu Icons. The idea of this mod is to add icons and symbols for pretty much every single item that appears on the right-click menu in-game. It's a very simple addition, but one that's very welcome for players using mods that add crafting options to the mix, and most of the icons on offer fit nicely with the vanilla style of Project Zomboid. Alright, so I've got one more quality of life addition before we move on to something else entirely, and this one is for all of the players that are enjoying Zomboid with a friend or two, maybe even hosting a larger server for your group. This is Undead Honor, which is a handy little safety precaution for anyone that loads in a little more slowly than usual. This mod protects connecting players from zombie aggro until they are fully connected and have loaded in successfully, ensuring there's no unfortunate incidents after an untimely disconnect while you're in a precarious situation, or if a sly zombie or two have managed to get into your safe house while you are offline. Again, this is nothing game-changing, but it could save you from a lot of frustration should the worst happen. If you've got a slightly older PC, unstable internet, or just want to give yourself an extra layer of protection against character deaths that might not be your fault, this is definitely one to try. So with quality of life mods out of the way, at least for a little while, let's get back into some larger implementations, kicking off with the Real Firearms mod. Now, this one has been around for a little while, but it has been gaining popularity in recent months, and I can absolutely see why that's the case. There's a range of different weapons available from many different time periods, each with their own audio samples too, which is something that a lot of gun mods don't quite stretch to, because it's understandably a bit of a hassle. Unique sounds, animations, and continuous updates are all part of the package with this mod. The modder has already brought in some silencers for certain weapons, and according to their workshop page, more big updates are on the way. What I especially love with this one is that there's a range of different weapon categories. Sure, you've got your usual pistols, rifles, and so on, but you've also got a couple of really fun implementations, like light machine guns and even a fully automatic shotgun, the AA-12. This is a really well-made mod and one I don't hear too many people talking about, so hopefully this will help put it on your radar and maybe get the mod some more attention that it deserves. Oh, and if I haven't sold this one for you already just yet, the M1 Garand does this. So those were some fully functional, fully fleshed out firearms for you. But how about we bring in something that's a little more cobbled together? This is Ramshackle Recipes, a mod that brings in a small collection of guns made with nothing more than scrap metal, wood, and rubber bands. Oh, and maybe a trumpet here and there. The weapons made in this mod will all have much lower durability than your standard firearms, and of course will come with other downsides too, like severely reduced range or slow fire rates. But to have the option to craft our own firearms does lend itself to certain styles of playthrough, such as say a wilderness style setup or anything that puts you a long way into the apocalypse. These strapped together weapons are made using the mechanics skill as their requirement and put some otherwise fairly useless items into the mix, such as rubber bands and, as you saw in the brief intro, a trumpet. The skill required to start making stuff is fairly low, so you can start nice and early, which is a good thing really, because I can't see you wanting to make these weapons once you've acquired some proper firearms anyway, but they're incredibly fun to use and make for a pretty unique experience when you're shoving a trumpet into a zombie's face and blasting them away with it. Alright, so moving on. If you didn't know this already, refrigeration isn't actually the only way to preserve your food lifespan in vanilla Project Zomboid. One of the simplest ways to preserve vegetables is just to combine vinegar, sugar, and water with your chosen veggies and jar them. This is great for nomadic players, especially if you're looking to set up a bit of a forward operating base that you can't be around to protect and maintain, or you're just looking for a snack to bring with you on your loot runs. The trouble with this method is that vinegar can be quite rare, especially if you're running loot settings that are a little on the low side. With the mod Simple Ferment Vinegar in use, however, we have a solution for this problem. This mod allows players with a cooking skill of level 3 or higher to combine potatoes, yeast, and water into a vinegar mash that will slowly ferment with the passing of time, specifically 7 in-game days, before turning into usable vinegar. To help with this process, the mod also adds recipes for crushing berries into brown sugar using a mortar and pestle, which can then be refined into regular sugar, also yielding yeast as a byproduct. Overall, a handy implementation that's well thought out and offers some crafting options that in my humble opinion should be in the vanilla game as standard anyway. So speaking of things that should be in the vanilla game as standard, I've got a mod for all of the post-apocalyptic farmers and medics next. This is Grow Medicinal Herbs Patched. Now, full disclosure, this mod has been around for a long time now, but it's also had some errors and other issues for a while too. This new version has been patched up to work in the most recent version of the game, removes a dependency, and also works alongside other common farming mods like mow crops, for example. As the name suggests, this mod allows you to plant many of the common herbs you'd use for medicinal purposes that can currently only be sourced via the foraging system. You'll still need to look after these crops as they grow like any others, it just gives you a bit more variety and some more use for an area of the game that otherwise rarely sees the light of day. For those of you that like to play Project Zomboid in multiplayer servers, or perhaps with a friend or two in smaller scale co-op games, this next mod is going to be one I think you'll really like. This is the Total Immersive Chat System, a mod that's made with roleplay servers in mind, but is usable and highly customizable across any sort of game. It brings in features such as character portraits when chatting with others, which will use your own character's headshot by default, but you can actually upload some images of your own if you'd prefer. The entire UI of text chat has been changed within this mod, and I've got to say I'm a big fan. There's indicators for when players are typing a message, there's voices that you can enable or disable based on your preferences, and even a piece of UI that displays how far your messages will travel with the click of a button. I'd absolutely love to see something more like this included in the vanilla version of the game, but for now, this mod makes for a great advancement in player communication within Project Zomboid. Now, long-time Project Zomboid players will know that the act of sitting in a chair is one of the holy grails of the Zomboid modding community, but even with mods in use, we are only able to sit facing 2 directions. This is thanks to the True Actions mod. Well, you'll be happy to know that this long-time issue finally has a workaround, thanks to a new mod called TMC True Actions. With this mod in play, you can finally face any direction you want when sitting, not to mention that the modder has added a range of compatibility updates for a bunch of the common tile sets you might use, so that now you can take a seat on basically any item that would make sense, like bar stools, benches, and even wheelchairs. You can also now take a lie down on items like sleeping bags and have a lot more choice when it comes to types of sitting animations that you use. It's awesome stuff, really. Alright, how about we take a look at some vehicles with our next mod? This is Drive 90s, a car collection, a vehicle mod that aims to do absolutely nothing different, and I don't mean that in a bad way either. The modder has specifically aimed to try and make all of the 15 cars included in their mod look as close to their vanilla cousins as possible. I gotta say, they've done a pretty good job of that, because when I was attempting to record the footage for this segment, I was actually sort of having trouble distinguishing which vehicles were from their mod and which were vanilla, which I'd say is a pretty good sign the mod has achieved what it's aiming to do. So yeah, nothing special with this one, just more variety for those that want to keep the aesthetics of their noble steed as the developers intended. Okay, so we're taking a look at a fundamentally game-changing mod next, something that you wouldn't expect from vanilla Project Zomboid. In fact, it's something the developers are avidly against bringing to their game. Next up is the S4 Vaccine mod, which gives you the chance to create your own cure for the zombie virus, but it's far from easy or straightforward. With this mod in play, you'll need to undertake extensive research, both both theoretical reading and practical tasks like autopsies. You'll need to craft a whole host of workstations for your efforts, ranging all the way from a microscope to a centrifuge, and that's not even the half of it. Whether you decide to loot some of these items out in the world from dangerous locations like hospitals, or craft them yourself after spending time reading up on skills like carpentry and metalworking, you'll definitely have your work cut out for you with this mod, and it'll take significant amounts of time investment before you reach any form of success. I'd also like to give a disclaimer here that while the mod is incredibly well put together, don't expect any help or instructions with this one. The experience is all about trial and error, and as such, it's not just a case of reading up on the mod page to learn what you need to do. It can be frustrating and it'll take some serious patience to get through this one, but the process is rewarding and can help to give you a larger overarching goal to your playthrough if that's the kind of thing you're after. Now, if you're looking for a mod that adds a bit more texture, a bit more realism to the world of Project Zomboid that's on a smaller scale than 10 years later, you could try the Grasslands Retexture mod. This one is dead simple, but makes a pretty big impact to the appearance of your game. It offers brand new textures for the terrain of Project Zomboid and altered foliage density for the existing game. It's worth noting that you will need to start a new save for this mod to apply properly, and there's a couple of incompatibilities listed on the workshop page, but aside from that, this makes for a great overhaul to the game with minimal impacts on performance. Now, with most of these videos, I like to take a look at a weapons mod or two, and as you've seen earlier in this video, this one was no exception. But one thing I don't see quite as often is equipment mods, so I was pleasantly surprised when I came across this next mod on the workshop. The night vision goggles mod is a great solution for folks that want to have a better option than a flashlight when taking on those late night loot runs. You'll have a selection of a few different types of night vision, all of which can be either mounted to a helmet or a head strap. Now, it's important for me to note here that you'll also need one of the two mods shown on the workshop page itself for this one to work correctly, and it's also important for me to note that for some reason they aren't listed in the dependencies for this one, so make sure you enable one of those yourself or this high-tech headgear won't function at all. Even with that minor inconvenience in mind though, this mod is a great addition to playthroughs where you're going in armed to the teeth or just as an endgame upgrade to that trusty old flashlight. Okay, so we're moving on to the very last mod for today's video, and I wanted to end with something light-hearted and fun. So what's more fun than toy dinosaurs? This is the Collectible Toy Dinosaurs mod, which adds a variety of different plastic dinos, the likes of which you'd find in dollar stores everywhere. Not only will this mod send you through a nostalgic flashback, it'll give you something to keep an eye out for in your runs and collect just for the heck of it. If this is the sort of mod you're into, you'll also be glad to know that the creators of this one are working on their next volume set to add even more collectible dinosaurs to the mix. Okay folks, that's all of the mods that I've got for you today. I know this one was a lot longer than my usual videos, so hopefully you've enjoyed getting some more mods crammed into this one, and as always, there's a link in the description to every single mod mentioned in this video. If you've been using any other mods recently you think I need to take a look at before my next video like this, let me know down in the comments. Finally, I'd like to say a very special thank you to all of my Patreon supporters for backing the channel for as little as £3 a month and for joining us on our whitelisted Project Zomboid multiplayer server, where we host different themes every month, create large-scale multiplayer events, and commission our own mods that players on our server will get first dibs to. If you're interested in joining those fine feathered fellows, there's a link down in the description. Thanks for watching everyone, and I will see you all in the next one.